on, and I still have lots of pages to fill in. And I just started another one for the class. So, you know, a journal gets to be whatever you want it to be, but mostly what I'm trying to show you is just a place to kind of exercise your creativity.
Great. Okay, thank you.
All righty? So there you go, journals. Set those aside. That's for today. That's later today, so I don't want those to go too far. Okay, so, and Harriet, here's a little one that, you know, this is a great little gift item. There's a blank page somebody can write on. There's a blank page somebody can write on. And these are just papers that have been printed on both sides, folded, hole punched, put together with a little copper wire and beads, and that's a great little gift for somebody. I know you've seen these papers before. These were some of the papers I made when we were doing a couple classes ago, and I did the papers for the faces I was working on. So I did a whole array of colors, so I would have the colors that I needed to work on. So what I'm going to suggest today is don't get overwhelmed with colors. Maybe pick out 2 or 3 colors that you're going to work with, because I spent all yesterday afternoon working on my jelly plate. Literally, you guys, all afternoon. And this is all I have to show for my whole afternoon. And I didn't really take any breaks. So the secret of it is you'll pull a print and you'll go, it's really ugly. And then you just keep going and going and going. You just keep going over it. And you end up, you know, I printed on both sides, and you end up with this really great, it's really thick paper. Now I could, Nancy, I could take these, fold them, and do the same thing with this and have a really cool little book of papers. I probably won't do that because I'm going to tear these up. But today, this is what I want to play with, is just getting comfortable with the jelly plate. So pull out 4 sheets of your computer paper and pick out 2, maybe 3 colors that work well together. Like, how about a couple complementary and then, you know, an accent color that you know are going to work. Like, I know red and teal. Let me see. I know red and teal, and I know this green's gonna work. Those work really well together. They're nothing like I was using yesterday because I tend to like, I mean, look at this piece of paper. I was ready to throw that away into the last pull, and then I went, oh my God, that is so cool. So, so I'm going to go with a little bit of a brighter color palette. Now, as far as paint, I'm using just these little craft paints for a couple reasons. Mainly, I haven't been to the art store and I'm almost out of my golden green gold, which is one of my favorite colors. And I do have a little bit of the light turquoise I can use. The best paints to use are the liquid acrylics. Not the high flow acrylics, but the liquid acrylics. And the open alizarin, the open paints work kind of good with the jelly plate because they stay wet longer. But they don't work with the jelly plate because they stay wet longer. Just, you got to get the feel of what you like and what you're working on. So I may have to switch up and put that color in here. Also, this is one of my favorite things to do, is over here to the side, I have a mixed media tablet, spiral, and I just have it like, I have it upside down because this hangs off the side of my art table. And when I go to clean my brayer in between rolls, I just do it on these pages. Roll pages. So right there, I am creating backgrounds for a journal. And I'm not wasting my paint. I think I've only got 3 pages going here. This is all from yesterday. So cool stuff could happen over this. So I just keep this over to the side. of my table where I can roll my brayer off. And I just started doing this. I have a little tray, and if you remember, this is also kind of how we set up, I set up my paint palette with the blue paper towel and tracing paper over it. This is just a little enamel tin with the blue paper towel, but I'm keeping more water in it. So in between rolling, you know, once I've rolled it out onto my pad, if I want all that paint off, I can just roll it in this pan, and then I have a little towel to dry it off on. That works really great. It also is really important to have if you're using stamps, because once you get paint on the stamp, if you don't clean it off right away, you just ruin your stamp. And this is on the verge of being ruined right here. So, and it's one of my favorite stamps. So after I use it, I'll blot it off on my tablet over there, and then clean it off just let it even sit in here and keep wet so I can clean it off, because I don't want to wreck my stamp. So those of you that are working with the new Gelli plate, this is called a clamshell enclosure. You got your Gelli plate in this with 2 pieces of plastic on either side. Toss that plastic. Don't store your Gelli plate in that, because the Gelli plate will last you a really long time. But if you set it, like leave it sitting out on wood or a porous surface, it kind of draws the moisture out of it and you'll ruin your plate. The best thing to do is to keep it stored in your little clam shell here. Okay? Now, when it comes to cleaning it, you don't have to. You never really have to clean it. I've got 2 of them here, and now it's usually when I'm going to show people stuff that it doesn't work. If I was alone in my studio, this would work beautifully. This is the little plate I have, and as you can see, it has a lot of paint on it. So what I'm going to do first is let's see if we can pull that paint off. And why I'm saying that is because kind of the cool thing about the Gelli plate is, first of all, let me just warn you, you're going to have papers and stuff all over the place. So as organized as you can keep yourself while you're doing this, you're going to be really happy. I mean, yesterday I had papers everywhere, and it was slowing me up because I had to stop and shuffle everything. So let's just start with, let's say I got this dirty plate. What you want to do is you want to put on a really thin layer of paint. You don't want to get it too thick. And this is for the sole purpose of pulling this up. So I'm putting this green metallic that I love so much. I don't want to put a really thick layer on. So I'm just putting little dots. And then I'm going to roll it out where my camera was. Okay, so I've got that pretty light on there. Then I'm going to lay this on there. I'm going to try to keep my head out of the way. That's the problem with having overhead cameras. And I'm just like really rubbing it because I want that wet paint to grab that dry paint and pull it off. Let's see if that's going to happen. Oh, yeah. I think it's going to happen. You can't wait too long because everything will stick. See how that's pulling all the paint off my Gelli plate?
Nice.
Oh, my God. Look how beautiful that is.
Wow.
Only a true Gelli plate person would see the beauty in that. Because it also picked up all these little black chunks that were from something else. So I never really clean my plate because then I would miss out on this. Okay? So let me get rid of this. And this is the little 5x7. I think it's 5x7. This is really great for making cards, but not crucial because I make cards on my big ones as well. You know, it's a lot of coordinating, you guys. So If I seem to be tripping up, I probably am, because you're looking around going, okay, what can I do next? I'm just gonna start out with doing a solid background. Something that I can build on. And some of the colors, as you know, the nice thing about using golden is some of the colors, you can tell that they are transparent. And I really love the transparent ones because they're actually really good for final coats because they're so thin. You know, what the heck, since I got this here, rolling it off on my pad, and let me just start with one side.
Hey Denise, it's Cindy.
Hey Cindy.
Is there any rhyme or reason to the order in which you lay down your paints? Should you go from dark to light, light to dark, or just experiment?
You want to experiment, but I wouldn't get too much pattern going on the first coat. You know, the first coat is usually better if you start off with something like this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of cool texture going on, and you can build on that. If you start out with something too patterny, you're probably going to cover over it. And that being said, that could also be pretty cool. So you might end up getting lots of pattern happening when you do pattern over pattern. But I love the start of that. So then we're going to set that aside and go on. So I'm going to try to stick to just, you know, the colors that I pulled out. And see, I'm not putting a lot of paint down. You don't want to get too much paint on your plate, because then it's just kind of a glob.
Yes, I found that out the hard way.
Yeah. So let's say I'm doing that, and I'm jumping ahead only because this little stamp is sitting here. Let's see if these even show up because it looks pretty soft. And like I said, if you do something you don't like, you're going to cover over it. So just those little guys showed up, and that'll be a good start to something. Let me do a little bit of the, this is the green gold, what I have left of it, and this is a full body paint. Oops. I love this color. I'm not really sure why. I always want to buy clothes in this color, but it's really horrible for my skin tone, so I try to fight it. Now there's newsprint going on here that you guys can't see on my plate. Sometimes you'll be able to pull that stuff up. Usually when you don't want to.
Are you putting your brayer in water between each color?
No, because I have very little, I'm doing very little paint on here, so my brayer's staying pretty clean. But this is still pulling up a little bit of the pink, some chunks of black. This is my pad so far of rolling things off. That's already a cool background.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Let's see, what other color haven't I used? I pulled 3 colors, and then I cheated and pulled another one. No, I think I'm sticking to those colors. So you can also, just as a little basic to get started, let's do 2 colors. Come on.
You might be out of that too.
That's the magenta. Oh, well, we're going to the crimson, which I think it was anyway. Yeah, I think that was it anyway. Really, really transparent. I'm gonna brayer that off so I don't get it too mixed into this. And you want to try to get it kind of even.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. So I'm going for 4 sheets. Doesn't look so cool now, but it will. It has cool possibilities. Okay, so that's what I started with my first 4. Now I'm going to do the other side too, so you can see this is going to take us a little bit of time. Okay, so now we've just got plain papers. Okay, I'm going to try to do this very organized, because it's set up that way, but once you start doing this, it doesn't always end up that way. So let's go back to, let me do the turquoise. Now, I'm going to do some mark making in these, and I'm using household items. So you know you don't have to go out and purchase specialty things. And that paint is on there pretty thick. It's probably thicker than I want. Can roll a little off. So I'm going to take a battery. It's just a D battery, okay? And just start doing some cool marks with your D battery. Okay, now wait, there's another cool thing. I've showed this guy to you guys before when we did a jelly plate thing. This is the inside of a roll of tape, okay? So this is really cool. You lay it down and just push it. Lay it down, push it.
That's so cool. Wow.
Not it.
Now, you could also now take this guy and go, let's print that, let's put that there, there, there. Get a couple little extras out of it. Okay, so now let me take this side, and I'm gonna just lay that down. There's the battery, and there's the tape thing. Now, this is pattern that you might want to do over top of a color, but if not, you can take this, and when you do a glaze over it with a more transparent color, that's going to pick up in those white areas and really pop it out. But look how fun that is. That's just a battery. Okay, that's one. Let's go to another green. Now, I've also got this on here. So I'm going to let this sit for a minute, because I think the little bit that's left on there, I think I can pull up with something else, with another color. I think. And I haven't had to clean my brayer off in the water yet, because it's still, I'm rolling most of the paint off. And this is a lot of paint on here. Whoa. Okay, what other household goodies do we have? My favorite little frozen garlic cube thing from Trader Joe's. And I always would use this. You know, it's for those of you who don't shop at Trader Joe's, it's got little frozen garlics that are, you know, a clove of garlic. But I saved these little containers, and I used to just push them down like this. There's a lot of paint on here, so it's kind of slidey. I don't like that. Or I just started turning it over and using this side of it, which is even cooler. Okay, let's grab another color. Let's go over that with this one. I'm sorry my head keeps popping in there. That drives me crazy when I'm trying to edit a video and it's like, oh my God, I gotta get my gray hair out of there.
At least you don't have roots.
I know, yeah, that's the good news. So this is now starting to look pretty cool. You can't, when I'm looking at the screen, you can't see how cool this is. Maybe that's good. I'll just tell you it's cool and just trust me.
We'll take your word for it.
Let me go with this. I do have a red. So I want this to kind of set up a little bit because I don't want it to, blend in with the color that I'm gonna put on here. I want it to actually just be on top of it. So to do that, you want to put a thin coat of paint on. You don't want to get it too wet. So I think that's going to stay. Let's see what has a blank side to it. Okay, keep your fingers crossed.
Karen, would you use any glazing liquid with it?
You could. You know what? I'm going to try that next. I'll do it, but I haven't done that in the past. Oh, yeah, it picked it up. So it picked all of that. What was it? It was all of this. Whoops. Sorry, making you dizzy. It picked up what was left of that. So let's see what's going to look good with that green. If you put on, you need to put on, I'm saying this again because I can't stress it enough, because I didn't used to do it this way and I never could figure out why it didn't work. You need to put on just a thin coat, just enough to re-wet that paint that's down there to pull it up. Let's see if this one's going to pull. And this is just such a pretty transparent color. Yeah, it's pulling up that green. A million little rubber stamps you can use. This is my very favorite one, but this is an example of what happens when you don't clean it. And it doesn't work quite as well anymore. Fortunately, I have two because they were $1 each at a thrift store. So I love these guys. Let's see what the heck I want to do. I'm not really thrilled with this. It's the start of something. Let's and you can see why I wanted you to stick to just a couple colors, because it really helps you. Yeah, otherwise you kind of lose your focus. Too many decisions to be made. This might pick up some of that red as well. So I'm just gonna lay this guy in. That's one stamp that I really like. This is one that I totally love. It has script in it. Now, I might have trouble getting these to show up because I might need a lighter color. And I've got a lot of stuff going on these already. But let's see what happens. So this one, can you see the script that showed up?
Yeah.
It also pulled up some of the red that was on here. So, okay, that is stamps. So, you know, I mean, we all have stamps. Stamps work really good. You could also, I am going to jump ahead a little bit. And I'm going to add some black in. And this is kind of a thin, transparent black. Of course, we all know bubble wrap. Forgot to show you bubble wrap. I knew there was another stack. So that looks kind of cool. Let me see, the bubble wrap, and then I have the little stamp that looks like chicken wire.
Love it.
So just about anything that you add into there, you know, I have bubble wrap. One of my all-time favorites is corrugated cardboard. I mean, who doesn't love that? And I've got a really nice piece of skinny corrugated cardboard. Now, these papers that I'm doing might not look that great because I'm adding a lot of stuff to show you guys all the examples. I think this opens up. So this is a really thin corrugated cardboard. Let me lay it on the side here. And again, if you're prepared for it, you can do things like now take that cardboard and lay it on here. Just very, very fine little lines. This is one of those rug protector, you know, that you put under your rugs to keep things from sliding. I love that. That didn't do very much. Let's see, where do I want to go with that one? I'm going to go right over this again. So when you start going over and adding more and more textures, they sometimes aren't as apparent because you got a lot of stuff going on, but this is looking really cool. Because now I've got my battery and I've got lines and I've got little spots. I got all kinds of stuff going on. And another thing that's really nice is the paper starts to take on a really nice feel with all those layers of paint. But this is, like this little guy is one of those little things they wrap around Asian pears.
Yeah.
That makes a pretty cool marking tool. Bubble wrap in all sizes. I tend to stick to kind of the same things because I have them. And although everything I look at becomes a possibility. Okay. Variety of stencils. These little paper stencils right here, I get these on Amazon and I think they come in a pack of 12 and they're just on cardboard. And when I first got them, I was like, oh my God, they're cardboard. That's not gonna last. They've lasted me a really long time. The little templates for drawing circles, and anybody who's been with me very long knows this is my #1 favorite, and it's off a candy box. So you can find so many cool stencils to work with. We're gonna use my favorite guy, and it's usually not the first pull that I like with this guy, it's the pieces I get after it. Let me straighten myself out. Okay. So this, I'm just gonna give you a little bit on a stencil. What time is it? It's 11:03. So is everybody kind of getting what's going on here?
Yeah.
So I know some of you probably have already started.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm like loving my little board thing that I'm wrapping stuff, you know, wiping off my brayer with. Okay, so top of a candy box, chocolates. Just gonna put that down. Okay, so this is this guy. Now, like I said, you know, it just does these little black marks, which are kind of cool. But what's really cool is this guy. That's gonna be fun. And where is it gonna be fun? Oh yeah. So then I get a really clear square, but you know, it's smushed in the middle.
That's fabulous.
Isn't that cool?
That's pretty.
So from both of those, I get these. This will be good to add something onto, but oh my gosh, I love that stencil.
Very cool.
So that's and I'm gonna keep going. I mean, I'll keep going on these guys if you wanna get started on yours. I'm gonna just keep adding, but I'm only working with these 4 sheets of paper that I keep going back and forth and adding things to them, because these will be the papers that we kind of tear up or cut up and add into our journal in the last hour of class. Okay?
Denise, it's
Yeah.
Marty.
Hi, Marty.
Hi. How many layers do you do? You do more than 2 layers.
Oh, yeah, Marty. I mean, those ones that I was working on, I just do layers until I get to a point I really like it.
Got it.
Because more often than not, I do things that, you know, like this could be really fun, but I think a couple more colors added onto it.
Sure.
And because I'm sticking to the same colors, these are all going to end up working really well together. Let's say I'm using this quinacridone crimson, okay? Let's put it down on that end, but maybe on this other end, we're going to put... I have like 4 tubes of this, and all of them hardly have anything in it. And that's that unbleached titanium that I love so much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a little bit of that there. And I'm going to use my red first. And what I'm going to do, Harriet, is mix the two together so I end up with a lighter version of my color.
Okay.
So you can do that. Use your color, but just get a lighter version of it. If you're getting gummed up, guys, mine's really clean, and I've been doing a lot of them. So maybe you're putting a little too much paint, or maybe you also don't have the little wash. Oh my God, I just did one that is so beautiful. Sorry. If you want to make a really clear frame on something, let's do this. I'm going to do this really quick on the spur of the moment. I'm just ripping some paper. Okay, I've got my black down on my jelly plate. Okay? Then I'm going to add that piece of paper right there in the middle. Then I'm going to go like this. And now I can go like this and pull this guy up and probably get something else cool. We don't really know. I'm not sure about that. But then that's just a little grungier frame, which is what I was trying to do to begin with. So that actually works pretty good if you want to try to do a little frame around it. Okay, I just did some little hole punches out of my hole puncher, which I thought would be really cool, until I look at all those little dots there that I got to pick off my plate. That's not so cool.
Exactly his plans, right?
I know, but it might work really nice as a pattern. Yeah, but I think it'll work really cool if I can get them off. It's leaving a whole nother little pattern. Let's see what those guys do. All my pieces are so dark, I don't know if it'll show up. Well, it shows up because I used a green metallic.
Oh, I can see it. I can see the shiny. Yeah.
So
Those just strips of paper?
oh my gosh, and then look at these cool little strips that I pulled off. Yeah, those were just little strips that I pulled.
Oh, I like it.
Wow. Okay, this is perfect for a journal, just to add these little pieces in.
Love it.
You know, this is just so much fun.
And my jelly is getting gunked up.
It's a blast. It's like playing in the sandbox when you were a kid.
I know. I know. Okay, Pia. All right, I'm not putting a lot of it on. And then let's say I want to do this green. So So you can just mix it up right there on your palette.
Okay.
But now I made that green, which is usually really opaque, that teal, and now I've made it really transparent. But
Okay.
what that's going to do on that one piece that you don't like, the purple one and the black, it's going to...
actually red and black.
Okay, it's going to fill in, like you see my page here?
Yeah.
I have all this white. It's just, whoa, it's just going to give a transparent,
Wash to those whites, right?
yeah.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, so that's just what you want to do to make a glaze. You can
Okay,
add,
do that.
you can use the medium to knock down the color a little bit. And I cut out, like, I'll cut out 3 pages and then I'll glue a couple, like 3 pages together. And so that way the pages that you're actually working on are pretty thick.
Yeah.
And this was another very cool little book. It had so many great little illustrations and cool stuff I could work with that it's really smart if you're going to use an old book that you go through the whole book and just take out the pages and glue pages together and gesso pages so it's all ready for you, because that does take some time. You know, you've got to gesso it and let it dry before you turn to your next page, unless you come up with a really good way to, you know, combat that pages drying. So, and I also, these are my pages from today that I've been working on to clean off my brayer. So I got some really cool backgrounds happening. And this journal, this book has been sitting around for 6 months. This is the first time I did anything with it. So now I'm really inspired to go and do some work in this. And journals are kind of, you know, they're just for you. It's a practice I don't do often, but when I do, I really enjoy it because there's just so many, you get to play with different elements that you want to add into your mixed media, and this is a good place to try it out. Okay, so I'm sure that you've all done journals before. Let me see, do I have everything I need? I have just papers pulled out, and I have my matte medium, and this is going to be kind of hard because some of these papers, look how cool that one is. But like you said, Marty, was it you that said, wait a minute, there's 2 sides to these. How am I going to, you know, how do you give those up? But you do, because you got a jelly plate, you just make more. So I very rarely use scissors. I always just tear my papers.
We're doing a little journal.
Yeah, and you know what? This is pretty free-form. Pull out some papers that you like the way they...
Using our papers from today.
Yeah, use your papers from today. Now that doesn't mean you can't add something else in with them. And if you're using a book like this, well actually no matter what, don't look at it as I'm going to do this page and then this page. Let the 2 pages become one. And this doesn't have to be anything more than playing with laying down papers with matte medium. And then once those are dry, don't use so much matte medium that they won't be dry till tomorrow. Once they're dry, then you can go in and start adding, you could add another piece of paper, you could add a word, you can add stamps, you can add a stencil over it. You can now treat this book like it's a piece of mixed media. If I was, okay, here's what I would be doing for matte medium, just like I do for my artwork. I just smear it on and put my piece of paper there. Even if you were using a book that had text, you don't have to gesso them. The only reason that I do is it gives me a little bit more play of what how I add things in. And I don't have to fight what's already there. So I'm just, Claire, I'm just gluing papers in a design and a pattern that I find pleasing to my eye. So this is a good opportunity to kind of play around and see what your design style is. What comes to you naturally?
Denise, what about house paint instead of gesso?
You mean on your book, not your jelly plate, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can use house paint. In your journal, you can use just about anything you want.
I haven't had too much experience painting over house paint, so I wasn't sure.
It's as long as you're using a water-based paint, it's pretty easy.
Oh.
You would treat it just like regular paint. Surprised how little of the paper that you just made is what you use. So you'll still be able to keep a big portion of what you've already made. If you love that piece of paper, you're not going to lose all of it. I mean, these end up being like, today could be the perfect little journal where you write in your journal, this is what I learned in class today. And that's all you have to say because it's all right there.
Yeah.
Now I can go in and I can start adding, if I have, like this says, gross encounters of the worst kind. Maybe I want that in there.
I see. Okay.
So now you can start adding, once you kind of get, I shouldn't have put that there, but it's fine. So once you get your papers where you want them, then you can start adding some more things. Because we know, you know, the papers that we just made, we know they all match because we use the same colors. So I don't have to think it out too much. Sometimes it's just fun to have a journaling afternoon and open your journals all up on a table and just work simultaneously in all of them. Because then you're not sitting around waiting for something to dry. Once you have your, yeah, I'm just saying you don't have to be in this spot yet, but once you have your papers down, then you can go start adding things in. Like I'm gonna add a little stencil. And I'm not waiting until everything is dry, I'm just going for it. Yeah, I just have a little bit of paint right here in a top, and I'm just using that little bit, and it's one of the colors that I pulled for my papers, so I know it's gonna work. This is all paper except for these little checkers.
And the black.
And the black is a different paper. And then this is charcoal. I just drew those little squares, finished off those squares. Yeah, I do this, Marty. I accidentally, the first time I ordered deli sheets, I ordered a little package. And they're perfect for this. I just set it in there. And even though it's not as big as the whole page, it keeps things from sticking together.